Hey there, guys and girls. Want to actually dedicate this video to God is Great, as well as the children that he sees and helps lighten the spirits of at the hospitals when he does his volunteer work. He does an amazing job over there for so many kids. And I had heard on a video, I believe it was 2 videos back, of God is Great, and he had mentioned that this weekend was his birthday. And so I was trying to listen on exactly what day it was going to be. And it's essentially today, which will be Saturday for him. But yeah, so happy birthday, God is Great. And I will tell you, right here, my brother actually wrote this portion out. It's hard to see, and I'll bring it closer to the camera in a bit. It's written in pencil. But yeah, essentially, and I'll simply speak it to you, but to God is Great. Kami-sama wa Subarashi-san otanjobi omatato. And yes, so happy birthday to God is Great. And you can see I have a little menagerie here of, you might be thinking I've got Transformers. Some are thinking, what in the world is that? It looks like a dragon, okay. And then for those that might remember, Voltron. So what I thought I would do in this video is, of course, wish God is Great, aka Ken Titus, a happy birthday, and yeah, kind of talk about how Japanese culture influenced me, and probably influenced, well, I know it did, influenced a lot of us, possibly more so than we realize. The toys that we grew up with, the cartoons that we grew up with, the video games that we grew up with playing. And yeah, so I'll dive first into Transformers, and I'll say, actually, I'm going to take a quick step back. So as a very small child, I want to say I was around, probably 4. And, I was on the cusp of going to preschool. So however old I was there, every morning before school, kindergarten, and leading into first grade, there were 2 cartoons that would come on in the morning, and it was super early. And the cartoon that came on first was Speed Racer. And as a result, I gained, a lot of love for that cartoon, that animation. I had no idea as a kid it was Japanime. It was a Japanese animation studio that made it. And, after that, I remember it would be Johnny Quest would come on. But, Speed Racer, of course, as I grew up, Speed Racer was kind of all but forgotten. He was in a recess, perhaps, of my memory. And one birthday, I can't remember when this was. I want to say I was in my 20s. And yeah, I think it was my parents. I had some, clothes and things that for a birthday. And I had a few DVDs. And one of them was the Speed Racer, DVD set. It was a singular set. I wish I had it on me, but it had this tire, a tire rubber on the front of it. It was killer. And yeah, I popped that in to watch a few episodes, and man, it brought me right back. It's such a great cartoon for its time, for sure. And, they don't pull any punches. Even back in the day, you'd have cars that flew off the railing and would erupt in a ball of fire and smoke. So that goes back to the Speed Racer ties and Japanimation from that time. Then moving forward to about 1984, just a few years later, as a kid, it then changed in the morning from Speed Racer. I remember we moved from the South Shore to the North Shore. And on the North Shore in the morning, the first cartoon that I would see getting up was Voltron. And I want to say that was 4th grade to 5th grade. And Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime, would do the narration intro for Voltron. And that was incredibly awesome. And then when I came home, I was able to watch Transformers and G.I. Joe. So, in a nutshell, when it comes to Transformers, getting back to that, got Soundwave here. I remember this is one of the first Transformers, the quote-unquote big Transformers that I got as a kid. Everything works there. He's got Buzzsaw and Laserbeak, the little birds, his scouts, if you will. And yeah, he's got Frenzy there, along with his twin, who's not here, but Rumble. And then I've got a Soundwave in the cassette player mode, for those that remember us walking around with Walkmans back in the day. Of course, Megatron, and he has his, I guess one would call it, I don't know, a plasma energy morning star flail, actually would be more precise. And then you always see him in the cartoons with his bird of prey companion. So later I'm going to transform that off screen so I don't waste you guys' time, because I know Pastor Ken definitely wants to see him transformed in as a gun. Now, these two specifically I chose for show and tell, so to speak, because I had to purchase them from Japan. It was years later. This was after my childhood. This was early 2000s. And I was in a Toys R Us, and I saw that they were remaking the original Transformers toys. And I'm thinking, oh man, like, you know, most of those I lost, or not lost, but they were missing. I didn't know where they were. They were probably in my parents' attic. So anyway, I didn't have them, is the bottom line. So yeah, I started kind of recollecting them, you know, and I realized I can't find Megatron or Soundwave anywhere. It's like, what's the deal? So Megatron, here's the thing, you know, because he transforms into a gun originally, a blaster, the United States, we could not sell that anymore. Hasbro would not sell that, you know, and I can understand. When I was growing up, I used to run around with toy M16s that looked relatively realistic. They were about the right size. They were the right color. And, you know, you'd pull the trigger and it would make that strange cranking sound to kind of imitate a 3-shot burst. And yeah, but it's different, you know, nowadays. When I remember there were some stories, you know, of danger to kids running around with guns, where officers even thought they were real weapons and all that. So anyway, I bought these from Japan, and you can see, you know, of course, the writing is all Japanese. GodisGreat would be able to decipher all of this. My brother could read it to me as well. And that's how I got Megatron. Show the back of Megatron there. And Soundwave. You can see the gun right there, actually. Yeah, it's like a Luger. It's kind of the style of pistol that he transforms into. But when you hook up the scope and the extension, yeah, it's kind of like a Ruger scoped rifle. So, you know, Transformers, the interesting history there is Hasbro came up with an idea. They saw what they called Convoy in Japan, which before the Transformers were the Transformers. The U.S. essentially created the name Transformers. In Japan, it was Convoy. And so Hasbro sent their people to Japan, talked with Takara, and essentially came up with an agreement to where they would purchase the goods from Japan, have them shipped to us, and I believe the person who was responsible for the names of all the Transformers had a weekend to come up with the names of all of the original Transformers and the storyline behind them. That's how we have the Optimus Prime and Megatron and all these different characters. They scrambled, they got the voice actors together, thank goodness, Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, just an amazingly talented voice cast. And yeah, so we have the Transformers. And I do have a Transformers album of cards, which I'll go over in the future at some point. I'll show you guys just a little smattering of it, but I don't want the video to be too long. Again, this is for GodisGreat, and GodisGreat may, I don't know, but he may wish to show some of these to the kids. I don't really know. Of course, GodisGreat is, if that's something that you want to do, by all means, if they would want to see toys and things like that. The next thing, so you can see Voltron here, and I'll show you just a closer up of a couple of the lions. Got the yellow, you got the blue, and I wanted to get a metal version of the original Voltron toy, but those things are expensive. And I came across a few, I don't know, it's been a Wow. This was called the 1984 re-release, or 1984 Voltron. And I thought it was going to be kind of like the original Voltron toy. It's this Goliath of a beast here. But it is not. Although it is epically cool in regards to the stature, it definitely, looks toy-ish. And I was kind of looking more for, well, what I originally had as a kid, which was a toy, but it was all die-cast. The funny thing about this is, I don't know if the batteries still work. This thing says over 84 lines from Voltron. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, it's stuck on one line. And my cat, her name is Princess. And I'm going to press the button and see if it says what it's going to say. And you'll catch the irony. This is the only phrase that it says if it works. Alas, batteries have gone out. It does not work. Well, basically, it's the main guy, Keith, and he's shouting, essentially, Princess, you're a part of the team. We need you. So, yeah, whenever I'm looking for her and she's hiding from me and I can't find her, I would take that oftentimes, play it, and then she'd come popping out. A very handy tool. The next thing I'll go over that had a large influence on me from Japan is Dragon Quest. Now, this little guy here, and I'll show you a few. You can see the coloring. So I buy these for birthdays and Christmas for my brother, my youngest brother. And yeah, they're Dragon Quest metallic monsters. And honestly, the camera doesn't do justice. In person, it is so much prettier, basically. The metal just gleams, and it's got weight to it. Like, I don't know how much this weighs, but it's solid metal. Like, you'll hear, yeah, it's solid metal. And I thought I would bring you guys back in time a little bit. So for those who remember the Nintendo Power magazine, and this ties into Dragon Quest, first edition of the Nintendo Power magazine, it's my original. I held on to it. I don't know how I managed to keep it in what I consider, knowing what it's been through, in amazing condition. It's the back. Choose your next challenge from the most powerful library in the universe. There you guys can see a lot of titles you may recognize. I have a lot of these, actually. But the one that we're talking about specifically is Dragon Quest. And this was before Dragon Quest. So I'll show you a picture of how I learned of Dragon Quest. Got to make sure Jetfire hangs onto that bat. Let's see. Yeah. He's got a pretty good grip. That's the Ken Griffey Jr. Super Nintendo bat pen. So I'm going to flip to a page here. Let's see. I'll show you guys some of the flipping that I'm doing because, man, you got Rambo there. I mean, this is totally 80s. Dragon Power. Okay, it's a different game. Let's see. Let's go back. Trying to find an article. Okay, here we go. So in the NES Journal, wire into the NES pipeline on what's happening around the world. Okay. So in Japan, this is Dragon Quest III that they're referring to. We were just getting Dragon Warrior 1. We didn't know it as Dragon Quest here in the States. Basically, Nintendo of America decided, hey, we'll go ahead and give it a shot. Let's see if the Western audience is as crazy about these games as the Japanese audience is. And the art and everything else that they went with Dragon Warrior was very westernized. It was the medieval fantasy that we know of. Dragon Quest III, the RPG released in February, is the talk of Japan today. Players from all over the country are so crazy about this game that a representative of its creator, Enix, proclaims, "We expect total sales of 5 million. Ninjas and kung fu masters are no longer heroes to Japanese players, since they are now being replaced by warriors and sorcerers, who bravely confront dragons with their swords and shields. A story players can relate to, graphics of fine quality, great sounds, programming techniques capable of combining these into one single game. These are the secret ingredients that make this a masterpiece among games." Japanese players waiting in line to buy Dragon Quest III. It's amazing they had that many titles available in stock. It is rather odd to find American-born sword and magic games making one great hit after another in the eastern country of Japan. Anyway, it will be quite interesting to see the reaction of the U.S. market once this is converted into an NES game. Yeah, and it goes into all kinds of other craziness. Pee Wee Herman. Oh boy, 8 Men Out, Pee Wee's Big Top, Kirk Cameron. Jeez, Full House. Man, yeah, this is what was going on back in that time. But anyway, so the Dragon Quest series, and like I said, in the States, we had Dragon Warrior. So Dragon Warrior, the first one. Then we've got Dragon Warrior 2. Again, it wasn't called Dragon Quest here in the States, which I guess they thought Warrior was more intriguing. Dragon Quest Warrior 3. And Dragon Warrior 4. When the Super Nintendo came out, I was thinking, oh, yay, we're going to get another Dragon Warrior. And no, we didn't. I don't know. The next Dragon Warrior that I remember was like 7 on the PlayStation. But anyway, just a couple more of the metallic monsters. This is Zoma, I do believe, who's the big bad in Dragon Quest II. And you can see the Akira Toriyama style artwork. So interesting fact, GodisGreat, he loves Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and Akira Toriyama. So I did not realize as a kid, I had no idea who Akira Toriyama was as a little kid. And it wasn't until later, actually my brother and I, this was years ago, but my brother and I were talking and he made mention, yeah, Akira Toriyama does the art for Dragon Quest as well as Dragon Ball. And I was like mind blown. I was like, oh my gosh, it all makes sense now. This is the first villain in the first Dragon Quest game, the Dragon Lord, I'm sorry. And again, the camera doesn't do justice, but these pieces are absolutely gorgeous. And they're heavy, man. Like, my brother he let me borrow these for the video. He's got a whole case. And this is what the Dragon Lord turns into, the actual dragon. But you can see the Akira Toriyama style of the monsters, for those who know Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Especially Toriyama's earlier works, you can definitely see the influence. So when I realized that was the case, I was like, okay, now it makes sense. All the monsters, the way they look, etc., etc. So got those. These are actually just a couple boxes to show you what those metallic minis that come in these boxes. This one is a Phoenix. Came in a style box. I love surprising my brother with these. And he deserves it with all he's been through with Crohn's disease. It's been a heck of a challenge, guys, let me tell you, this last year. But yeah, gosh, I'm trying to remember this guy. Can't remember his name offhand. But yeah, so show you those two little packages. And lastly on the Dragon Quest, Akira Toriyama, Dragon Quest illustrations. And you can see the look of all of the characters, little heroes. It's the main heroes of each individual game. Dragon Quest 1, Dragon Quest 2, and it goes on and on. And the Toriyama art style is so signature, so classic. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So that's it, guys. The only other thing that I have, I suppose I can just show you just a little smattering of cards, not many. I'll just show you a few. There's a lot more Transformers cards that I have. And this is written primarily in kanji, these cards, which, as GodisGreat can tell you, for Japan, they do use some kanji, but it's not, exclusive. And so with these characters here, these cards I could only get from China. And I stopped buying them. They were getting expensive, very hard to get. And I wish I could buy them from Japan. But yeah, so we have here Optimus Prime, of course. That's the back of the card there. And then we have another Red Alert. It's got kind of a foily look. And then we have Chromia. And it says a little bit about each character underneath on the back, like a little bio. Hound. And I know everybody watching this can read the bio that's underneath, which is why I'm showing it. I'm just kidding. I apologize. Green light. But I am showing it just in case, for those who do know, and for GodisGreat that want to see, they can see what the characters represent. It's a cool one, Lionizer. I really like the cats. And it turns into a cassette, I think, for Blaster, the good guy version of Soundwave. And then we've got the bad guys. We've got Megatron there. And just a few more. So we've got Starscream, of course, always going for the #1 spot. Always plotting, always planning. Shockwave. Cold and calculated, logic only. That is all he cares about. Logic, facts, results, and no more, no less. Ravage. Soundwaves. Kitty Kraken. And you want to talk about a Kitty Kraken, Ravage. And then we've got this guy, Aimless. And I do believe, let's see, yeah, that's pretty much it. A couple of the other ones, these look like they're cartoon variety. Oh, this one here I'll show. That's a cool card. It's a unique insert of Optimus Prime. And there's a Slab Prime that I have, but he's away at the moment. I'd have to dig him out. Anyhow, guys, that is it. I wanted to share again Japanese influence to me in honor of GodisGreat and everything that GodisGreat does, and in honor of the kids who GodisGreat sees and helps over there and what they go through. Many of those children are suffering with cancer. And yeah, GodisGreat does an amazing thing going over there doing his volunteer work. And honestly, he's been inspiring me. I definitely want to do something as close to something like that. I don't have anything like that in this immediate area, but about 30 miles out or so. Yeah, so that's something I would like to start doing. Some good for others in that capacity. So thank you, GodisGreat, for all that you do for the kids. God bless the children there. Happy birthday once again. I'll have GodisGreat's link in my description. I'm sure everybody who's watching me is already subscribed to him. But in the off chance you're not, definitely go check him out. He's got amazing content. He's a lot of fun. One of his favorite players is Ken Griffey Jr. That's why I went ahead and put Griffey Jr. up there, as well as Griffey Jr.'s baseball bat. And yeah, he does snack tastings, drink tastings. He does trips to Starbucks, shows you around town, shows his amazing garden, which has totally come to life. And I could go on and on and on about GodisGreat. But thank you all very much. Again, happy birthday, GodisGreat. And I will talk to you all again very soon.